The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to our seminar today. My name is Bill Black. I'm the host and founder of Exit Coach Radio. Name of our seminar is How to Sell Your Business for More Money in Less Time and with Fewer Hassles and Pay Zero Tax. I'm really excited that you've joined us today. I think you're going to find this next half hour or so very, very interesting and intriguing. Let me ask you a question. Would you like to sell your business, get cash flow for life, and pay zero taxes? I don't know anybody that would say no to that. And that's what we're going to learn about today. And I'm very pleased to introduce our speaker. But before I do that, a few housekeeping tips. If you have questions, we have a question tab in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. There should be a place where you can type in questions. And we'll get to those at the end. So please type in your questions as you go, as we think of those, and we'll get to those at the end of the program. First of all, if you can also enlarge your screen if you want to in the upper right-hand corner, and it helps out a lot. So let's get on with the program. Our speaker today is Heath Frantzen, and Heath is an executive with a sharp focus on both top-line revenue growth and bottom-line profits. He's been at this for over 20 years. He's been a founder and chief executive for 3 organizations, and Heath has a strong record of business success. During his 20-year career, he's orchestrated turnarounds, negotiated, raised, and effectively and efficiently allocated capital, developed management and leadership, organized systems, designed innovative learning environments, integrated performance systems, and created and implemented marketing and growth strategies. He's done it all. His current role as chairman and CEO for Delta Business Services enables him to take business owners by the hand and craft holistic exit strategies, combining his investment experience with his business acumen, thus providing his clients with the path to maximize the value of their business and provide for their long-term life plans. And I'm very pleased to introduce Heath Frantzen. Heath, thanks very much for joining us today, and tell us all about it.
All right. Thank you, Bill. Hey, everyone. Heath Frantzen here. And before we get started, you will need a pad and a pen because there's a lot of good information I'm going to cover today. Also, we have some free gifts for all the listeners who stay on till the end. And this is not a long webinar because I hate long webinars. They bore me to death, and I, like many of you, I'm sure, have an office to get back to. So this webinar is for business owners and also advisors who touch business owners. So if you're either of these, then you're in the right place. And by the way, if you are an advisor, we have some special training and materials for you, so contact us after for further details, okay? With that, let's get into it. Here is the big idea in 127 words. Have you tried to sell a small or medium-sized business lately? It's like pulling teeth without Novocaine. Let me tell you, if ever there is something that's set up for catastrophic failure, it is this. You've got a seller who wants to sell at the highest price possible. You've got a buyer who wants to buy at the lowest price possible. And from there, you've got a negotiation at loggerheads. And it just gets worse. It goes downhill from there, particularly when you start injecting some of the third parties with what I would consider ulterior motives. They have agendas, and they start distracting you and derailing your deal. No wonder it's so difficult. I mean, my goodness alive, I'd rather go and get some teeth pulled. I have a question for you. What if there was a way in this insanely unpredictable world that a business owner could sell his or her business for more money in less time and with fewer hassles? What if that could happen? What if? Let's say you could create a predictable stream of lifetime income that was safe and steady from the sale of your business that you never had to worry about outliving. And to sweeten the deal, what if you could do all that and more without owing a penny in tax and keep 100% of your net worth intact from the sale of your business? What if you could do that? Wouldn't this allow you to live the next part of your life on your own terms, all while still leaving a legacy to your loved ones? If this sounds like something you want but seems too good to be true, then I want you to listen carefully, because today is the day you'll discover for yourself the Delta solution for people who are at or around retirement age who want to sell their business for more money, more quickly, with less hassle, who want to create a lasting legacy for their loved ones and get on with living the next chapter of their lives. It sounds too good to be true, I'll admit, but it isn't. This is the Delta solution, a really big idea designed to solve some monumental flaws in the way businesses are bought and sold today. There are many obstacles facing buyers and sellers of businesses today, but before we start looking at those problems, let's take a quick trip back in time to see how businesses used to be sold back in the days when all you had to do was hang up a sign on your business. A buyer would come along, you'd agree on a price, you'd shake hands, and the deal would be done. Unfortunately, those days are far behind us, and selling a business in today's economy has become a lot more complex. But, and this is important, the perception that this is how businesses are still bought and sold remains. It's an antiquated paradigm. Sellers continue to believe that when they're ready to sell, it'll be a simple process, a quick meeting of the minds, an agreeable price, a handshake, and the deal is done. And the reality of modern business, however, is far removed from this perception. 87% of all small and medium-sized businesses for sale never close, and of those that do, only 1 out of 4 transition successfully from old ownership to new. This means you have a 3% chance of successfully exiting your business. Suffice it to say, the odds are stacked against you. And many things are conspiring against both the buyer and seller to make success harder to attain. The most obvious difference between then and now is a lack of qualified buyers. These are buyers who have the right stuff, the skills and the tools that it takes to consistently execute, which is the ability to do the right thing at the right time, the right way, consistently, and on an incremental basis, grow a business and keep it sustainably profitable over time. Another reason for sale fail was painfully obvious to me after being on over 300 deals. Third parties with their own agendas, usually business brokers, slow down and even hinder the process by creating inefficiencies. A lesser known but critical obstacle in selling today is also the capital gap. And let me elaborate on what this capital gap is. The capital gap is a phenomenon that exists in the capital markets for businesses that is created by some of the institutional barriers on either end. Capital exists on the small end of the spectrum with mainly commercial banks. If you're a small business and you're doing a micro loan or a small business loan, anything less than $500,000 is something that you would obtain from a bank. Once you reach the $500,000 threshold, some interesting things start happening. Those amounts start getting really uncomfortable for banks to lend because the amount is more than the borrower can personally repay. So when a bank makes a business loan, yes, the assets of the business stand to back the loan as well as the cash flow the business is generating, but what if that goes away? Then the borrower, the business owner, stands in personal guarantee to back that loan, and over $500,000, quite frankly, it just starts getting too risky. And it isn't until, as you go across the capital gap, it isn't until you reach the $5 million threshold or so, a $5 million barrier, that you start attracting interest from some of the larger institutional players. These are private equity players, venture capital, mezzanine lenders, and so forth. And the reason why that $5 million barrier exists on the top end of the capital gap is because the investments they make, they start getting too expensive in terms of return for the entrepreneur to repay, because the hurdle rates involved in some of these private equity, mezzanine lenders, venture capital deals is a minimum of 25% cash-on-cash return per year. When you roll in all of the cost of capital plus loan administration, loan servicing, loan acquisition, all those costs, they have to pay for that. And that means there's a huge burden placed on the entrepreneur that creates the entrepreneur's disincentive to perform. So what the capital gap winds up being is this money desert. It's a veritable no man's land of a money desert between 500,000, 5 million, where businesses that are too big to be small and too small to be big go to die. It just can't get financing in this capital gap, and it's a big problem, particularly when you're trying to expand. And expansion always choose capital, and there's just no place to go and get it. And what if you're trying to do a transition? You're trying to sell your business. Well, then there's no financing that can be obtained. And that's the capital gap. Now, this short presentation doesn't really allow me to go into as much detail as needed. For this reason, I encourage you all to go to the website, which is deltabusinessservices.com, and get the free resources available. You can also call us for a personal appointment at 210-369-4161. Just jot that down and put it in your notes right now. And now that you've discovered just a few of the roadblocks you'll encounter as a successful business owner who wants or needs to sell. Isn't this a cool graphic? This mama pig with the piglets. I love it. Let's take a few minutes and see how the Delta solution helps you break through these barriers. All right. Let's see. Let's see if we can do something here. All right, can everyone see this? This is this entire webinar put on one piece of paper. This is where we really start getting into the meat of this presentation. This infographic is key. Here's how the landscape of small business sales has evolved over recent history. First was phase one, and that was prior to the 2000 financial crisis, where everyone had a positive economic outlook, and we had a relatively healthy economy. The small business financing world was moderately plentiful. We had numerous and various programs such as SBA loans. There were numerous small business buyers, many of whom were unsophisticated, admittedly, but successful small business sale rates averaged from 10 to 15% annually. Then we moved to phase two, and phase two was the 07-08 financial crisis. Things changed. Markets crashed. Panic ensued. Financial institutions closed or got consolidated. This was a turning point for our nation's economy. Small business financing stopped. Many banks went under from risky loans, and the traditional sources of business funding went extinct, taking unsophisticated buyers along with them. Business sale rates dropped to 3%, and the few sophisticated buyers that remained got to cherry pick their opportunities. Then we transitioned to phase three, which was coming out of the financial crisis from 08 to 2011. Recession begins and uncertainty abounds. Volatile markets were in constant flux. New lending regulations, Basel III, forced banks to shrink. Lenders had to restructure their high-risk loan pools, such as those for small businesses and acquisitions. And another turning point, the first baby boomer small business owner reached retirement age. This was another turning point in our nation's economy, very critical. We had a steady 3% business sale rate, some private equity and M&A activity, but only the largest small businesses were consolidated, but they were asset stripped. Let me tell you about asset stripping. This is something that you see in private equity. Whenever you sell a business, if it's a mature enough candidate, usually on the larger end of the scale, private equity is an option. You sell your business to private equity, you need to know what you're getting. All right? Private equity will come in, and the typical modus operandi of a PE transition is they're going to buy controlling interest in your company first. That's going to be 51% of the stock. And that gives the private equity company the right to control the balance sheet. They're going to bring in a professional management team. And how they buy that 51% is they usually go out and raise capital. They're going to raise, say, equal parts of equity and debt. The debt's going to be from a financial institution. The equity is going to be from high net worth individuals, and they're going to pool that capital together. The management team is probably going to put up none of their own money, but they're going to raise capital to do it. And they're going to get control of that balance sheet. That gives them power in the company. And you as a seller are given a liquidating event. You're going to pay tax on that liquidating event, but nevertheless, yes, you get a partial exit. And you're going to be left with 49% or less of that company, depending on the structure of the deal. But typically, these things are done in stages. It's called a staged buyouts. They're going to buy in 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 stages. So over time, they're going to cash you out. So you don't realize the full sale price right away. And many times a staged buyout is tied to incentives inside the business for performance over time. And you as a seller are probably going to have a 3-year contract or so, and that you're going to be reduced to an employee, plus you have a subordinated position in the company. So there's not much you can really do about this. But what happens is they're going to go in on that balance sheet and they're going to sell off some of the extraneous assets, asset stripping the business. And when you cut deep into a company like that, you gouge the cash flow centers and jeopardize the forward earnings production potential of that company. The future stream of earnings that your earnout and the realization of the full business price is tied to, all of that becomes highly suspect. And so you may or may not realize the full value of your business whenever you get into a PE transaction, okay? Just understand that. Some of you might want a, quote, second bite at the apple. This is how private equity sells this deal. Well, we're going to grow the business, and we're going to sell on down the line to either a larger private equity company, or we're going to go public or something like that. And they're going to make it sound real good, but you have to understand that there's a lot that can go wrong, too, when you do a private equity deal. Nevertheless, here at the end of Phase 3, the sophisticated financial buyers remain, and sophisticated financial buyers are not PE-minded. They're strong financial players. They have skills and tools. They can consistently execute. They don't asset strip a company. They don't jeopardize the relationships that you have with your employees or with your customers. You know, many times a private equity company, in conjunction with asset stripping, they're going to lay off a lot of the labor force and make it really, really lean, and that just sort of doesn't sit well with me, and I quite frankly think a lot of baby boomers would really like to know that their company is going to get completely shredded on the backside of a private equity transaction. It doesn't necessarily bode well for most people. And about 3 out of 4 of these private equity deals go under, so just so you know the statistics. But then we transition to Phase 4, and this is really where we are now. 2011 to present, there's a recession, there's market volatility, and there's uncertainty for the foreseeable future. Banks are highly selective regarding loan candidates. An ever-increasing complexity, ceaseless change, and surmounting pressure from competition paralyze many business owners. A lot of them just don't know what to do, because increased government regulation and taxes are squeezing small business owners, and they're forcing many out of business. The wave of baby boomer business sellers begins. Retirement uncertainty forces many to keep working or sell at fire sale prices. The sale rate is still 3%, and in 2012 we created the Delta Solution. And the Delta Solution, friends, addresses every single one of these issues. It addresses the recession, market volatility, and uncertainty for the foreseeable future, because the Delta Solution is not subject to market swings. We avoid banks altogether. They're not even on the radar screen. We understand complexity, ceaseless change, and competition pressures. We understand that. And you've got a leadership team that can consistently execute in this environment. We're experts at navigating the increasing government regulation, and we help you avoid all of the tax hammers that can destroy your net worth. And we're specifically designed for baby boomers. It is the ideal situation if you are a boomer business owner and you're looking to sell and you want a good, sound, successful retirement. That's the Delta Solution. Let's see if we can get to the next slide here. I'm going to tell you exactly what the Delta Solution is in legal terms. So here is where we show you everything. The Delta Solution is a guaranteed lifetime master lease with the insured option to purchase on your business. We index that last lifetime master lease income stream to the CPI, and by the way, it can cover the spouse too. So what we do is we lease the business assets. We don't buy it. It's not traditional sale. It is a lease for your lifetime, and that lease income produces your retirement income. We put a guarantee on the front end with credit protection, and we put an insured option to purchase by taking out key man policies on the principal. So when the principal's passed, life insurance proceeds kick in, and that's what we use to exercise our option and actually buy the assets of the business. So it's a complete package that addresses completely your retirement income. It's tax advantaged. We leave you as the owner of record for the business. So at least income coming into the business is ordinary income, and it is subject to all the same tax deductions that you would take as a normal business owner. It addresses completely your asset protection plan. We put credit protection in place on every deal that Delta does, so if ever anything goes sideways, you can sleep well at night. All we do is make a credit protection claim. The cash comes in, and we pay the sellers 100 cents on the dollar of what's owed to them on the contract. Period, end of sentence, end of chapter, end of book. It addresses completely your comprehensive tax strategy. The strategy for capital gain is the one-time step up in basis. There is an optimum time for business owners to sell their business, and it is at the end of their life. Under 1014A of the Internal Revenue Code, a business will get a one-time step up in basis that avoids completely the capital gains tax. As I said earlier, the income tax strategy is you remain the owner of record for the business, your structure stays intact, and you get to deduct the income in the form of expense deductions that you would normally take as a business owner. And of course, for your estate taxes, the threshold right now is $5.3 million and some change. Most of our customers come in under that threshold, but if you are over that threshold, we've got some fantastic estate planners who can do some more advanced planning around your situation. I've got a Rolodex of over 200 of them here in my office, and they'll just get you hooked up. Find 4 or 6 to call and find the one that's the best fit for you. The Delta solution completely addresses your estate plan and the legacy that you will be able to leave. Remember that at the tail end of this thing is when we buy your business. So there's going to be a rollout of cash to your estate. So your estate's going to be funded with tax-free cash that you can then distribute to your heirs however you want to leave that, including setting up trusts. If you want to control part of your estate or a section of the distribution that's going to particular heirs and you want to use a trust, that's a great way to put controls around the distribution that you're going to be making from your estate. So your ability to leave a legacy and go from successful business owner to significant person in the world is greatly improved with this Delta solution. So you're going from success to significance. And it addresses completely the leadership team. You're going to have a well-seasoned, well-experienced leadership team that comes in and gives you a smooth transition from old ownership to new ownership. And this is putting the incentives in perfect alignment between seller and buyer. The old way of doing business is negotiations at loggerheads. This way of doing business means the seller and the buyer are perfectly aligned. There's a smooth transition. I will not buy a business any other way. You got to have intimacy with your seller and put the seller on the team. Both of you need to be pushing the deal to the finish line. The Delta solution also safely avoids intermediaries. These are pickpockets of wealth. More on this later. I got a great quote from Warren Buffett. It safely avoids banks. We don't use them. Mezzanine lenders. We don't use them, etc. Those folks, they gum up the process. They make it really, really hard to do business. It safely avoids taxes. We've already covered your comprehensive tax strategy. It safely avoids market swings. You're not subject to market swings in any of the financial markets. The stock market, commodities even, it's not subject to that. So the market can go up, it can crash. Doesn't matter. You're going to be getting your monthly income. It safely avoids inflation eroding your purchase power. Like I say, we index all of our cash flow streams to the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, which is inflation. So as inflation goes up, so does your lease payment. You never lose purchasing power. And it safely avoids the private equity shredding of your company from asset stripping. And we already talked about that. All right. So now it's time for a quick plug of my radio show and for you to get your free gifts. So to further supplement your exit strategy education, tune in to my national podcast, The Business Exit Roundtable with Heath Frantzen at blogtalkradio.com/exit your business. Jot that down too. Every show is me with real experts bringing you the best of the best about business and exiting in today's volatile and uncertain business climate. All right. Here's where we get into Delta's acquisition criteria, because you are probably wondering, well, does my business qualify for this? Can I do this? You'll want to take some notes here too. Number one, there are no geographical restrictions on businesses. They can be anywhere in the United States, but there are some size minimums. We prefer simple businesses with $500,000 in net cash profits per year or better. These are businesses that are 10 years old or older in any industry other than technology, okay? So that $500,000 net cash profits number, that is profits after all the bills are paid. There will need to be strong, honest, and able management that remains in place after the transition, and the business is going to need to have favorable long-term prospects, so it isn't going anywhere anytime soon. We also acquire franchises if there is a large enough group of them to meet our minimums. We work with advisors on a regular basis, so if you are one and touch these kinds of business owners, call us for some free training materials to assist you. You're going to look like a hero advising your client that they can sell their business, get cash flow for life, and pay zero taxes, keep 100% of their net worth intact, and leave a legacy of significance to their heirs. They're just going to make you look like a superhero. But we do not work with business brokers or intermediaries of any type. And the reason why is because brokerage is the pickpocket of wealth. Warren Buffett said this in a 1984 Berkshire Hathaway annual report. So I didn't make that quote. It was the Buffett. I'm paraphrasing there, but that's basically what he said. Now, if someone wants to do a Delta solution but has already identified a buyer, we're happy to help you. We'll give you all the training and contacts you need to get your deal done. Just call or email us and we'll get you started. Now, I realize this presentation was brief. I presented some concepts that could easily take an entire 3-hour webinar in order to do them justice. That's why I want you right now to go to deltabusinessservices.com for your free report. Here it is. The perfect business exit strategy, how to sell your business, get cash flow for life, and pay zero taxes. Jot that web address down, and just for the people on this call, we're offering some unique and very helpful selling tools. You'll receive our free risk analysis tool. It's valued at over $1,400. It's the same one I use here in my office at Delta to evaluate each and every deal that comes our way. And also you can get a free 20-minute phone consultation with a wealth and retirement income strategist here at Delta. And getting started is as easy as going to deltabusinessservices.com or calling us at 210-369-4161. And that's it for the presentation. Now let's open it up for Q&A. So, Bill, do we have any questions?
Yeah, Heath, great job. And a reminder to our listeners, on the lower right-hand corner is an area for questions, and we have a couple. So if you have questions, please go ahead and type those in, and we'll get to those in just a second. Heath, here's one from Steve in Florida. Asks, he says, I appreciate that it sounds like you're working primarily with business owners who are age 65 or older. Is that true? What age appropriate for this type of a strategy?
Very interesting question, Steve. Yes, primarily we like them 65 and up. It's just we're doing a lifetime arrangement, so the arrangement is going to be 20, 25, 30 years. It could be all the way to, if someone lives to be 120, that's perfectly fine with us. So we are targeting people who are true retirements. However, we're rolling out a new product really soon that's going to be targeting younger business owners, folks who are in their 50s. We can actually do this Delta solution and customize it a little bit differently. So if you are nearing retirement age and you really want to see about exiting your business with a Delta solution, let's go ahead and get the ball rolling, because there are some preparations that need to take place to set you up to win and get your Delta solution. You can't take everybody. You do have to have a business that's been around for 10 years or more. You do have to have the minimum cash flow requirement. There has to be a predictable and normalized stream of cash flow because we do buy investments. But if you're there or you're real close, we can go ahead and start working together. Thanks, Steve.
Great. Now, did you say, we have a question from Chuck, and he says, did you say 500 minimum net profit, 500,000 minimum net profit?
Right. Yeah, so net cash profit is what you realize in cash. It is not what you realize in earnings, because earnings is not cash. Many people think it is, but it isn't. Earnings is a theoretical number, and it shows up on the income statement, and it can include some log jams in receivables. It can also include some log jams in inventory. But what cash is cash that actually hits the account, and that's going to show up on a different financial statement called the statement of cash flows. And so if you have, if you want further distinctions about this, I suggest you talk with your CPA a little bit. Here's what I'm getting after. The $500,000 in net cash profit is the cash that's left over after all the bills are paid. So at the end of the year, after you've paid all the bills, it's the $500,000 in cash profits that sits on the balance sheet in your cash account. If that is there, I'm not saying you can't distribute it, but it was realized in cash. Okay? And so we have a wonderful due diligence team that can help you go through your financial statements here and recast the actual cash profits.
Okay, that's an important distinction. Great. Okay, Heath, we have one more that's it says you talk about transition. Sorry, I have to read this line by line. You talk about transition of the business. Is that transition referring to the previous owners leaving and the new CEO president coming in, or is it a reference to the transition to the master lease agreement and the existing owner can stay on in leadership? And that's from Mark in Minnesota.
Many times it's both. We can cut a deal that includes the former owner staying on if they want to. So sometimes they don't want to fully retire, they just want to semi-retire. They want to stay on in some kind of a capacity. In fact, all of our sellers are so pleased with this arrangement, they want to stay on as advisors, and we contact them via email or phone call if ever we hit a hurdle and we need some advice, because obviously their experience is second to none. But the transition is typically going to be from the former ownership to the new ownership. Many times there is great second-tier management that is inside the business that we can elevate to being a primary level of management. We love doing that, and every now and then we come across a business where there isn't strong second-tier management, and in that case we'll survey the competition. There's always someone in the competition that we can pluck and move on over. You know, they're going to be fed up with the PowerPoint presentations and the bureaucracy over there. They want to get back to rolling up their sleeves and getting back to work and creating a wonderful winning corporate culture and being on a team that wins, and we help them do that all along the way. So,
great.
Yes and yes.
Thank you. So here's another one from Peter. What if the buyer can't meet the payout? Who comes up with the payout?
If the buyer can't meet the payout, then you're probably going to be having a credit event, and that is where that's where we make a claim on the credit protection. So the credit protection is there from day one. We buy credit protection on every single deal that Delta does, and that credit protection company is a financial guarantee company, and these are the same guarantee companies that back municipal bonds and large infrastructure development projects and so forth. These are folks who have the assets to back your deal, and it's basically the same as making a claim on an insurance claim, for example. You turn in your paperwork, this is what happened, and they send a check, and it's just that simple.
Great. We have one more here, and that is, since I'm not yet age 65, although I'm heading in that direction, what are some things that I can do to help get my business in shape that it would be attractive to this type of a strategy, Heath?
Oh, wonderful question. That's exactly what it's about too. It's not about you going out and finding a buyer. It's really more about you building a business that is an investment that attracts a professional buyer. Because professional buyers know what from what. Here is what I would recommend. Number one, find a great exit planner. Exit planners are professionals who are trained in what the market and what the strategies are. And exit planners will work with you one-on-one. You'll get a lot of vertical time from an exit planner who can hold you by the hand and coach you through a process. Many times these exit planners have systematized processes. So step by step by step by step in phases. And you can consistently, gradually improve your business on an incremental basis into an investment that is worthy of a professional buyer to come along and snatch it up. So get a great exit planner. If you need an exit planner, I have a Rolodex full of about 250, 260 of them around the country, and we'll be happy to send you names of 4, 5, 6 of them, depending on what part of the country you live in. It's not really necessary to get one in the same part of the country that you live in, but you can talk to them and you can find the shoe to best fit you, one that fits your personality, one you think you'd like working with, and we will keep tabs on you from time to time and monitor your progress and work with your exit planner. We interface with these folks all the time. They know the language, they know what we're looking for, they know what we're talking about. So getting a great exit planner on your team as quarterback is paramount.
Keith, great job today. You covered a lot of great material for our listeners. Thank you for joining us. We have recorded this, and you'll be getting an email with a link to the recording, so you can listen back to it at any time and, again, go over some of those key points. Do get in touch with Heath, find out more about what he has to offer. But, Heath, great job today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And one last thing. We'll be sending out a free gift soon, so watch your inboxes. And also on behalf of Bill Black and the entire team at Exit Coach Radio, as well as everyone at Delta Business Services and the Business Exit Roundtable, this is Heath Frantzen wishing you a very, very happy and safe holiday season, a very prosperous 2015, and cheers to your exit success. Bye for now.
Thanks for joining us on this Exit Coach Radio webinar. Please visit exitcoachradio.com, where you'll find daily interviews and one-minute tips with advisors, authors, and thought leaders. And be sure and visit the audio library, where over 300 interviews have been archived and indexed on over 30 different topic folders. So that'll help with your exit planning. Thanks very much, Heath, for joining us today, and thanks for our listeners. And so long for now.
Bye, everybody.